All right, you ready? With some level of competency, please. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Ahead of the Apex, a special... No, it's not a special edition, is it? It's not really a special edition. This is some level of competency I'm showing right here, Timothy. We are focusing primarily this week on WEC. Isn't that correct, Tim? And Tim's also here.
It is totally right. We love WEC.
I have to say WEC is phenomenal.
And it's not something that you can discuss really in short bites as we did try and do in the past, because obviously the races are so long and so much happens.
3 F1 races.
Exactly. So we thought we'll do kind of an episode, a Wepisode.
A Wepisode, nice.
And have, be able to have enough time to really do it justice, because it is an epic series. And of course, it's probably the least popular of the ones that we talk about.
Yeah.
So we want to give people an opportunity to A, understand, and B,
for us to understand.
And also get people in the door.
Yeah.
Because it's epic. Yeah. And everyone should be in the door.
Everybody should be in the door.
It's the best party. It's just no one's there yet.
True. They did have 80-something thousand people at Fuji, though, which is pretty good.
Which is awesome.
That's pretty dope, especially as Toyota would nowhere.
And haven't been for a bit.
Before we get into it, though, we did make some motorsport wishes in the last episode, didn't we?
We did.
And I got mine. Nearly all of mine, anyway. I got a Marc Marquez title in Japan. I got a Marc Marquez hugging Honda in Japan.
Oh, that was, what a moment.
I got more exciting, more different race winners, because we got George Russell in Singapore. The Singapore Slingapore.
More like Snorapore.
It was pretty boring. And perhaps some McLaren drama. So it's been pretty good. It's been a pretty good couple of weeks.
Perhaps some McLaren drama.
Well, hey, this is WEC, but we'll get into it in the next Formula One based discussion. But yes, perhaps some McLaren drama. Our first topic, you may remember this from a while ago, but we sat in this very room in front of these very microphones and said, what is balance of performance and why should I care?
Yeah, we did. And we talked about how Toto Wolff hates it.
Yeah. And we decided we were going to do a little bit of a thing about balance of performance. And it seems like with one race left to go in the World Endurance Championship, this is a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I heard it described by an F1 based podcast from the race as just an excuse for everybody to be shit once. Balance of performance. That's how they described it. But BOP is a key element of WEC, and actually, given Max Verstappen's foray into GT racing recently, it's quite a common thing in all GT racing, because he had a restricted power car and a heavy car as a rookie. So it is just a thing that they do in GT cars. And actually, I had a look around, and I couldn't find any example of it in the World Rally Championship, which I thought there was. But they are thinking of introducing it now that they're getting a mix of regular ICE cars, hybrid cars, and hybrid 2 cars, which I don't quite know what the difference is there. I thought a hybrid was a hybrid. I didn't realize there were 2 stages of hybridness.
Extra hybrid.
So they are looking at it, but currently all they do is they kind of have, similar to F1, where you have these really tight restrictions for both weight, engine size, aero, and then they kind of let the manufacturers design within that.
Yeah. I think the way that touring cars does it is very, very interesting, because they give you a certain number of laps worth of battery deployment.
Yes, hybrid energy management.
There you go. And I think it's really interesting because it rarely makes, I might eat these words, but it rarely makes a difference in terms of you don't end up with 17th place on the grid coming through to third.
Sure.
But what you do end up with is you don't get these massive, massive gaps, which we see in F1 a lot.
Yeah.
And of course, people start being rather complimentary and going, oh yeah, but they're building a safety car pit or pit window, or you're creating a gap that you can pit into and then you don't get compromised in terms of traffic, stuff like that. But ultimately, you do that because you can, because you don't have these limiters in order to impact your performance, which would, as it says on the tin, balance out everything and make it such that you just have everyone kind of competing. So the racing is just closer. It's not trying to offset the result, but it's trying to make sure that the result is maintained with more exciting racing.
Yeah, so it's probably the easiest way to describe it is probably as close to reverse grids as possible.
Yeah,
because it's based on your championship position, right? And most recent races. So the lower ranked drivers, as Tim's just described, they have more available boost per lap, and the top drivers have less. And the idea is that those who are either in poor cars or perhaps struggling have more of a chance to compete at the front, but it doesn't necessarily outweigh class.
Yeah,
I guess. So the best drivers probably still win, but it doesn't create that, you know, oh, I lapped everybody up to 7th place this week, George Russell.
Yeah, exactly.
And I nearly lapped the Ferraris, George Russell. Right? So it doesn't outweigh that. It doesn't encourage that, but it doesn't outweigh skill. So there are two. What's the best way to describe this? The FIA say that it is purely designed to balance on an assumption that all cars are at their max potential.
Oh.
Okay? That's how they describe
I'm sure everyone is very forthcoming about the performance of their package performance of their package.
Nice. It does not account for drivers, tires, or team performance.
Yeah, which of course, when you consider that, it's not very reflective or appropriate.
They're very proud to say it is the system that has allowed 14 manufacturers to compete in the World Endurance Championship in 2024. And I think 15 this year because Aston were in it last year. They were in it last year, but not in the Hypercar series, right? Yeah. So yeah, I think it's still 14.
But it's interesting because how do you quantify the performance of a car? Because there is some driver input into that.
Correct.
So how to isolate driver and team in a race setting is immediately gives you a non-representative data point in terms of where the car sits.
Yeah.
So this is why, full transparency, we see teams overbalanced such that it does become a disadvantage. Like we saw with Ferrari and WEC at some point when suddenly they were winning everything and then dropped.
I think there are 13.
Okay.
I count 8.
I was wondering what you were doing with your hands under the desk.
I count 8 in Hypercar. So Ferrari, Porsche, Cadillac, Toyota, Alpine, BMW, Peugeot, and Aston Martin.
Yep.
The extra ones, because there are loads in GT3, is Corvette,
McLaren,
Lexus, McLaren, Ford, Mercedes.
Yes. I love the Lexuses, the red and the black.
Yeah, it's lovely.
So cool. And I love Lexus as a brand.
13.
Yeah.
But technically, I guess Lexus is Toyota.
But come on.
Never mind.
Throw them a bone.
Okay. So how does it work, Tim? Well, firstly, there are 3 stages.
Firstly, you misjudged the performance of the car.
Firstly, there are 2 cars, hypercars and LMGT3s. And as we discussed in our Le Mans podcast, the LMP2s, or now the LMPs,
the special
they're
ones.
a spec series. So that matters not. And they also only compete
That
in...
matters not. Doth we think that matters? We doth not.
So that doesn't matter. And
No, I loved that. Don't go back on it.
and they only compete at Le Mans anyway, so who cares?
Who cares? Stinky losers.
So the FIA do a 3-point check on each car. Okay. So they firstly look at the aero performance, but given that there is such a small window for aero space because the cars have to fit a certain dimension, this check usually results in no changes. So that reads to me, we restrict you quite tightly with how the dimensions of your car need to be. And also we consider your aero performance to be accounted for in later checks.
Yeah. This is more akin to the Formula One rally.
There is a box that you have to fit into, and that box is 3D, and it changes at this point, and you have to fit into this window.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. So that's more a regulation point rather than a BOP point, but it nonetheless fits.
Correct. Then there is something called platform equivalence. And this is because the FIA allow hypercars to compete in either the Le Mans Daytona H regulation spec, so IMSA, or the Le Mans hypercar platform. Right? And what they do here is they look at the top performing cars from each platform and apply a balance to all from that platform and all from that platform to bring them together. So if the LMH cars were significantly faster than the LMDH cars, then they would weigh down the LMH cars this year.
Right.
Okay. Now, the final check, and this is the one that is live throughout the season, is the manufacturer compensation. With me so far?
I am with you.
Good. They take a bunch of sensor data and lap time data and tire wear data and fuel usage data and whatever else data they can get. They are just thirsty for data.
As we all are.
They record it over 3 races, the last 3 races, and they use that data to apply a compensation to each manufacturer, not necessarily each car.
Interesting. So
Because
is that irrespective of if people have multiple cars, they average?
Yeah, so obviously Ferrari have 2 teams.
Yeah.
Right? They have the factory team and they have the AF Corsa team. The Kubica's team.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen discrepancies in their pace over the last few races.
Yep.
And the reason for that, they're putting down to what the team do with the platform, right? So they assume that Ferrari give both teams the same car and they apply a manufacturer compensation to Ferrari, not to each team.
Cool.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. There is almost exactly the same process for LMGT3, but there is no platform equivalence because each of those cars is built to a tighter set of regulations and there is no crossover, right? So there is no LMDH equivalent for LMGT3. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So they still look at the performance, they still balance it out, but it's not as significant because those cars have to use a certain type of wheels, they have to fit in, they have to be a certain type of weight, they have to use a certain type of aero, they still have to fit those regulations.
Yeah, so it's still regulated.
But obviously Mercedes and BMW build different cars fundamentally. So
Yeah.
they balanced it in that sense.
Yeah.
And like the McLaren LMGT3 car is what I would consider a hypercar for the road.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a 720S or a 960 or whatever it is. But the BMW, it looks like an M3, right? That's a sports car. So there is a difference there in terms of the platform on which those 2 manufacturers build a car.
absolutely.
Okay. Cool. For Le Mans specifically, they restrict the airflow of cars into their engines for any car that can make it above 250 kilometers an hour. And I believe this is a safety thing.
To restrict airflow?
To restrict.
I guess so it doesn't go pop.
No, to reduce power so that cars don't start topping out on the Mulsanne Straight.
Right.
I think that's the reason. And they've also obviously added 2 chicanes in there as well since the 70s so that you don't hit 300 kph on that bumpy little French road and start taking off like my Weber did.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. So
if you haven't seen that video, watch it, but with caution.
With caution. So this, and as I said, this system applies to LMGT3, LMGTE, IMSA, and National GT Series, such as the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Right, so they just, anything that's GT cars at the FIA govern, this is what they do. They have a system, it works, kind of. They also have another system, and we love an acronym here, don't we?
Of course, everyone loves an acronym.
How do you feel about EOT?
I feel okay about it.
As an acronym.
I feel okay. Exceptionally overturned turtles.
Nice.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm picturing the reel on Instagram in my head now of you saying that and like just a bunch of turtles on their back.
Yeah.
No, EOT is equivalence of technology. And this has been around for a while, and it was to originally allow diesels to compete because obviously there would be different power outputs from a diesel than there would be a petrol car. It has since been extended to hybrid systems because, as with WRC, there is obviously a difference in power output from a hybrid system than there is a non-hybrid system. I don't think currently, or maybe the Aston Martin, is the Aston Martin a hybrid? The Valkyrie?
I think all of them are.
I thought all of them were, but I'm wondering now whether the Aston Martin is a hybrid because it doesn't sound like a hybrid. It sounds like a V12, but maybe I'm wrong. It's to do with max fuel usage and max energy deployment per lap, and then they balance it out. So if a non-hybrid car competes, they're allowed to use more fuel than a non-hybrid car.
It is a hybrid.
It is a hybrid. Okay.
V12 with 120 kilowatt electric.
So then they're all hybrid.
Yeah.
Okay.
1160 horsepower.
But I assume this also means that if Ferrari turn up, again, I use Ferrari because they're at the top of the standings. If Ferrari turn up and they have a battery capable of deploying more energy, they're not allowed to. Right. So it restricts in that way.
So that sounds fair. I think that's the thing to remember is this is not a restriction. This is not a fairness point.
This is to make it fair. Yes.
Yeah, because there is more scope for I don't want to say innovation, but there's more scope within the regulations because they are inherently a little bit looser than we see in, for example, F1.
Yeah.
Which are very, very tight. And you have to look like this. This is the car that we give you.
Yes.
And it needs to look like this car.
Yes.
Basically.
Both because series of that, aim for 100% convergence. Sorry. Formula One do it by restricting you to the point where one design becomes the desirable one and everybody copies it. And the other one is everybody develops to a point where all cars are roughly the same pace within like 0.4 of a second or something. That's what they currently aim for.
Yeah, which I think in a way, especially considering what WEC is, which ultimately is a series for manufacturers to develop cars and technologies that push the limits of what a car can do, and that then feeds back down into their base models and into other cars and whatever. It's not necessarily about let's make the peak car, which is why, of course, everyone says F1 is the pinnacle of motorsport.
Yeah.
It's more about what can we make our what is the peak of our car, not
Yeah.
what is the peak car.
Particularly with GT3, right? Like,
Absolutely.
how can we take this supercar or hypercar that we make for the road, and how can we make it better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more targeted in that. So the development is more in-house and with the attitudes and the preferences of the manufacturers.
Yeah.
Whereas F1 is, let's make the fastest car
Yeah.
that looks like the car that the FIA make it look like.
Yeah.
Basically.
And actually,
So there's different attitudes, which is why it makes sense that there's a different performance regulator.
yeah. And actually, as we will cover shortly, it's working.
And it is working well.
We've had 4 different manufacturers win the last 4 races. I mean, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right?
That would be incredible if we've seen that in F1.
Yeah.
And we did briefly. But
What they're allowed to do, what the FIA are allowed to do, which sounds weird, right? To say what the FIA allow themselves to do
yeah.
is they can adjust weight, so they can add weight to cars. They can adjust the air intakes. They can adjust the fuel flow. They can adjust the power output. And the way they do that is they look at the average of the 20% of the best lap times per car in a race. Sorry, that was last year. I'm misreading my own quote. So last year they took 20%. This year it's 60%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a lot more. They are really eating this data for breakfast.
Yeah. So what they're saying is they assume that 40% of the time cars are lapping GT3s, or they're getting lapped by hypercars, or they're involved in incidents or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas 60% of a 6-hour race, that's what we're looking at, they're running in reasonably clean air, doing reasonably good.
Representative lap times.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be quite 60, but
They also look
it sounds
at
better than
the
20.
10 best lap times over the weekend.
Including quali and including
free
hyperpole.
practice and whatever else. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The data is rolling. So they did the last 3 races. So last year in the hypercar class, they didn't achieve 100% convergence, but they're aiming for it again this year. But they're not looking at. So the big one that they can't really check is tire deg, and they're still working out a way to do that, because obviously, particularly with the LMDH and the LMH cars, they will wear their tires differently because they have different deployment, they have different aero, so on and so on. And also the LMHs have a different battery system.
And if at some point in free practice you say, right, you need to run 20 laps and then we'll take all those tires away. Again,
Not great.
driver and team are a factor.
Yeah.
So it won't be as representative as you want. So I can understand why they're struggling with that.
Yeah, and the big one with the difference between the LMDH and LMH cars is that the LMH cars have their battery harvesting on the front axle. So when you're watching on board with Giovinazzi, because he's Jesus Christ, and you hear the whine.
Yeah.
That's because his car is an LMH car and it has an MGU system that's on the front axle, so you can hear it when he's braking. It harvests at the front. That's the whine you can hear, and when it deploys at the front. That's the whine you can hear.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Because of that, his rear tires wear differently to an LMDH car, which would have it on the rear axle.
Yeah, because you have a bit more weight because you have a
Correct
generator.
So they can't compensate for that as accurately as they would like to, because it sounds like they're a little bit anal about this sort of thing.
Yeah, does it?
Yeah. I can hear the question coming out of your mouth, so I'll get there before you ask it. What about a new team?
I was exactly thinking that.
Yeah, because Aston Martin are a new team this year.
Yeah.
In hypercar. It's one of the sports that punishes new teams.
Yeah, because Aston have looked off the pace the whole year.
Yes. So what they do with a new team is they look at last year's championship winning team,
Yeah.
whoever that might have been, and then they go, we are going to apply the same regulations to them to you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because that obviously makes... Surely they should just take the median.
Well, I assume it's because they don't want a new team to come in and instantly win the first race, because that would undermine BOP.
Yeah.
Right? That would make it pointless. And then what you would have is Ferrari disappear for a few years until BOP expires and then come back in and win everything.
Yeah.
So you don't
well,
want that,
but
right?
isn't this only a problem for the first 3 races because then they have enough data to start doing it?
That is great that you asked that.
Because the answer is no.
That is the next thing we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Perfect. It's almost like you've got this sheet in front of you that I'm also reading from.
I actually don't because I can't find it. But yeah, it's almost like
we
think the same.
We think the same. So Ferrari won the first 3 races and Le Mans.
Yeah, crushed it.
And then, so that's 4 races. Le Mans is a little bit different. They have a little bit of bop for Le Mans is also impacted by last year's Le Mans race, as as this year's WEC season.
Makes sense.
Right? Because why do things by half measures?
Do they not weight things anyway like that? Surely they should go, right, because then that surely helps in terms of track specific advantages. You know, we see that in F1, right? McLaren were really good in Canada and Singapore, but they were relatively average pretty much everywhere else. Mercedes, sorry. Yeah, not McLaren. Mercedes. Yeah. So if you then take, okay, the last 2 races, they've been this, but actually last week or last year, clearly this was somewhere where they really thrived.
Yeah.
That would be very important to take into account.
I agree with you entirely, and I really think they should do this. But
it's interesting that they don't. But it's interesting they do it for one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. So obviously last year, this year Ferrari won in Le Mans as well. So that's 4 races on the back. And then we arrive in Brazil and they're absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely nowhere with Toyota, who are both publicly complaining about how bop is rubbish.
Yeah, I think they finished 11, 12
scrap
or something.
bop, and bop is terrible and bop sucks and all the rest of it. Cadillac, who won in Brazil, they were nowhere in Qatar. They were 8th and 16th. Italy, 10th and 16th. Belgium, 5th and 6th.
Fine.
Le Mans, 4th and 7th.
Okay, so they're climbing, right?
But you and I both said Belgium was insane.
Belgium was insane.
So 4th and 5th and 6th is not a terrible result if they just stayed on track, right? And Le Mans is 24 hours. So you can kind of take the Le Mans result with a bit of pinch of salt. But then roll on to COTA, the next race, and it's a 3-way fight between Ferrari, Cadillac, and Peugeot.
Yeah.
And Porsche took the win. Spoiler alert. But it's a 3-way fight between those 3, and they're all roughly the same pace. So now it's converged. Aston Martin were absolutely nowhere in the first 3 races. And Le Mans, again, nowhere. But in Brazil, they had good pace, but they messed up the race. And the rhymes.
Team is a factor.
Team is a factor. And then, as we're going to discuss shortly, they've also been on the pace with the big boys, but screwed up the race.
Yeah, so this is inexperience more so than the car.
So it's, yes, kind of it works.
It kind of does work.
The problem is...
Alpine are a bit of a odd one out though, because they were really competitive toward the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Belgium especially.
Yeah.
Mick Schumacher had a really good race in Belgium and have not really been anywhere since.
Apart from Fuji, that we're going to talk about.
Yes. Well, again, recently they kind of dipped away from that.
Where they won.
Yeah, well, they jumped back up. But in the interim, they kind of just fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, so I think Bop will helps. So it helped rein Ferrari in, right?
Yeah, which they needed to do.
It helped bring Cadillac to the front.
Which was exciting.
But teams like Toyota and Alpine and Peugeot, they've kind of been in the middle of this field, right? And they're still in the middle of this field.
Yeah.
But is that just because reining in the big boys and boosting up the bottom boys? That sounds wrong.
Leaves the middle guys where they were.
Leaves the middle guys exactly where they were. And they're going, well, Bop sucks because I'm not winning races.
I think that's
Toyota,
the thing.
Right?
Bop almost inherently acts as an over/under correction.
Yes.
And if you're in the middle and you're not really being corrected at all, you're just going to sort of flatline.
Yeah, so Cadillac being fourth in Le Mans and Ferrari winning in Le Mans, and then suddenly Ferrari gets slapped with a bunch of weight and power restrictions. Oh no, Cadillac won. What a shock.
Yeah.
Because they were next in line. They were there, they were ready. Toyota and BMW and Peugeot, I'm discounting Aston here, are the only ones not to win a race this year. But it's not like they're miles behind in the standings. Like Toyota are 100 points behind Ferrari. Okay,
I think
they're
that's
not going to win
the
the
other
championship,
thing.
but they're not far off. Like Alpine and BMW and Peugeot, they're in their own different class at the moment. But that's because they've always been in the middle.
I think that's another really important thing to remember is actually, how do you quantify Bop and Bop's effectiveness? And it's not really about who won. It's more about the points in the championship. And the fact that you don't have a massive spread is a real point to say, yeah, it works well. Because look at McLaren in F1. I know I keep talking about F1, but they won, a few weeks ago we were talking about, can they have a 1,000 point season?
Yeah.
And there are some teams that are at 20 or whatever.
Alpine have very few points. No, you're absolutely correct. And if you look at the drivers, it's called the Drivers' Championship in hypercar, but it's not really. It's car championship, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got Antonio Giovinazzi on 115 points at the top, right? And then you've got Robert Kubica's team with 102. But then it's a Porsche, Estre and Van Thor, who have 94 points. And yes, Toyota are 100 points behind Ferrari, but their top person, Kamui Kobayashi's team, and Nick de Vries, they're only 65 points behind Ferrari and in 7th place. It's not like they're miles behind. It's just they've not had that consistent top running, right? And Brendan Hartley's team is down in 12th. So that's why Toyota are suffering. But actually, there are 31 cars on the grid. Some of them have 0 points, that being the Aston Martins.
But we've already explained why that is. Because they were unduly punished at the start.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's how you quantify whether or not it works. And I think the answer is it does a better job than anyone else. And it's never going to be perfect, of course. You are going to have variations in track and driver preference on tracks and weather and whatever else.
I'm actually very confused.
But considering all of those things, I think it does an okay job.
There are 2 of the same ×2 Aston Martins registered on this list. I assume that's just because they were entered with different drivers.
Yeah, or different orders in terms of lead driver, maybe?
No, so one is the 009, Riberas and Sorensen, but one is the 009 with Senna De Angelis.
Okay, so yeah, it's different.
I don't know.
But you're right, it's a car, and then the drivers are within the car.
Anyway, Toyota aren't that far behind. I just think they're complaining about stuff.
I think it's fair to complain because they haven't had their moment yet, but season's not over.
Season's not over.
Game's not done.
Well, while we're on Toyota, before we get into Texas and Fuji, Toyota have just confirmed that they will be using their update token to do major updates. They will be using it probably to test in Bahrain for next year, and it will be a radically different car, aero-wise.
I think that makes sense.
So they are focused. They're committed for the future. Where they say we will introduce an update to our car for next season. Its appearance has been adjusted by updating the front and rear bodywork. This is intended to align better with Toyota's latest road car design. Spicy. and create a more modern look. These changes are also influence airflow, and we have made the modifications whilst aiming for consistent aerodynamic performance across all circuits and conditions.
There you go. I also think it's so funny that they didn't mention that bit first. The first bit was, we want it to look nice.
Yeah.
It helps with aero.
Nice. Also, it helps at all tracks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It improves us, but mainly we want it to look pretty.
Yeah,
and
which
match.
is not something you expect from Toyota.
No, and also it's not something you expect from a racing series. Come on, that's insane. We're making this change because we want it to look like our road car.
Yeah. I mean, if that was Ferrari or BMW being like, oh, yeah, well, we want it to look nice. I kind of get it. But Toyota coming out and saying, it'd be nice if it looked good, you know? Like if it
needs to
looked
match.
Nice, it kind of doesn't matter if it's good. It needs to look good. But also, this will make us good.
But also, it is good.
If it is good. Just in case there was any doubt, it's good.
We haven't lost our minds.
It looks good, though.
And again, that is a perfect example highlighting that the goal is to make the best Toyota.
The best looking Toyota.
Well, yeah, but not to make the best car. And that's, I think, the really key point.
Yes.
And I think that's nice. I like that. I think it brings a charm to the series that even if they're not winning, they're still gaining something. It doesn't feel like a waste of time.
But as long as it looks good.
And it works a little bit.
I think it will probably still be black and red.
Of course, it's got a match.
It's got a match.
But it might help.
What car do they have that looks anything like that?
Well, maybe it's a new one. Maybe they're bringing something new out.
Toyota sports car. I mean, unless it's going to look like a Supra.
I hope it looks like a Prius.
Interesting. Oh, okay. They're updating the Supra. So you know, well, you might not know, but the Supra has like these big, like sort of light bulges either side of the bonnet, and then huge air intakes at the bottom. 3 of them. Mm-hmm. So it looks like it's got teeth. And they're updating it. It looks like to get rid of the separation of those, and
just
to
have one big one.
instead, so they're going to wrap these LEDs like around the front bumper, like this.
So it looks like a car's car.
Yeah, and then it will have an air intake here and an air intake here, and then a big one at the bottom. So maybe it's that, but like, yeah. Okay, if it looks like that, I'll be excited because that is nice.
That's cool.
That is nice.
That's cool.
Right, let's get into Texas.
Okay, so we have 2 races to talk about, as we have teased through the opening section. The first one was in Kota, Lone Star Le Mans.
Oh, yeah.
And the second is in Fuji.
I'd like to disagree, first of all, with this name.
I don't really get the name.
Because it's 6 hours.
Yeah.
It's not anywhere near.
That's what I mean. Well, it's I was going to say a third then. A quarter of the 24 hours.
And actually, they were stopped for nearly 45 minutes while they figured out which order the cars were supposed to be in. So, it wasn't even that. That was embarrassing. Did you see that?
Yeah.
When they had to they were like...
There was no semblance of a normal working day.
They started, they started behind the safety car, and then loads of people span, and then they were like, oh, well, maybe we should pit. And then...
Where is everyone?
Everyone was pitting, and they were like, whoa, guys, you can't be pitting behind it's a full course yellow. You can't be pitting now. We need to stop the race, and everybody needs to line back up on the left-hand side of the grid while we just figure this shit out.
Yeah. So...
And of course it's Niels Vittich, and he sounds like this, and then you have to pull up on the left hand side of the grid, please. This is our mistake.
So, big headline is Porsche are back.
Damn right.
And as you've already said, there was a lot of rain. So, beginning of the race was very, very wet, hence why everyone was spinning behind the safety car. And then we had this really awkward reorganization period afterwards.
So embarrassed. I've never seen that. Even like is it 2021 Saudi F1 where they were like bargaining with Red Bull. We're going to do the order of the grid like this and Ocon will be on first. But like even then it wasn't like everybody back up for just
everyone
back up. Let me settle
stop.
this, right? Like stop.
Hang on. You know, you could just tell someone had taken his glasses off and just very dramatically rubbing their nose, being like, God damn it, we've got to sort this out. But yeah, it was a bit of a mess. But as we've spoken about, the Ferraris kind of came back having lost the extra elephant that they stuck on the back of the car.
Yeah. They didn't not win this race because of Bob. They didn't win this race because of Ferrari things.
Yeah. It was a team thing. So the 83 and the 51 led the way.
And for those who don't know numbers, that's Kubica and Giovinazzi's cars.
Yeah. The two main
Dominant
ones.
forces.
Yeah. And then Porsche was sat in third. And as always, poor Ferrari pit stop.
How does this keep happening?
I think they've cleaned the F1 ones up. So now the WEC ones have gone back to being...
Yeah.
One of them has to carry the burden of being terrible at stops.
Properly embarrassing as well. So because Ferrari run 6 cars, they have like this huge garage at the bottom of the pit lane, which is for the GT3 cars and the hypercars to use. And there is supposed to be enough space to line all 6 cars up, but there is not enough space to get all 6 cars to come in for a pit stop at the same time. And what happened was Giovinazzi's car came in and then Kubica's car came in for a pit stop. But in between those 2 cars was their Vista AF Corsa GT3 car, which parked right where Kubica's car should have been.
Mm.
And they had to he came in nose first and then they tried to jack it up and spin it round because they're not allowed to work on it unless it's within the box.
Yeah.
So they're there trying to kick the front end of the car round to bring it round.
Oh, it's just
he
a
lost
mess.
so much time.
It was about it was over half a minute actually.
Yeah.
Just sat there.
It was bad.
It was awkward.
Really bad.
So that was the first one dealt with. And the second overtake came about 4 hours in and just a really nice move into one.
Yeah, he elbowed him out of the way into the last corner. Really tentative. And then there was contact, which then resulted in a front left puncture and dropped that Ferrari way down the grid. So fun times to be a Ferrari fan in any series.
Not the best race for them.
Check in on your Ferrari fan friends. They might not be having a good Christmas.
Yeah, very true. Well, I mean, overall, it still looks pretty good for them. They still look in a comfy position, but yeah, right. Last race points 1.
Not great.
But yeah, so Estre said the conditions were very difficult, especially when the track began to dry. Obviously, that transition is super tricky, I imagine.
I don't think the hypercars pitted for dry tires. I don't think any of them pitted for dry tires.
Which is wild considering it stopped raining.
But the GT3s that we're about to discuss, they did. Some of them did.
The Ferraris were very strong towards the end, kept us under pressure, and it was a matter of deciding whether to put slicks on or not. So there was this question, which really went through half the race.
An hour and a half?
Yeah.
Which ended up being nearly half the race distance because of the faffing around with everybody pull on to the left-hand side of the grid, please. That means you.
And yeah, ironically, after all that, the number 50 car
is the one who comes home
comes
on the podium. Yeah.
Which got the better of Van Horn in the dying stages and muscled through at turn 13. Turn 13's not, you don't normally get overtakes around turn 13. No, because
that's, for those who don't have the track images imprinted on the back of their eyelids, turn 12 is the one at the end of the long back straight.
Yeah.
So turn 13 is the first part of the double right-hander.
Yeah.
So in F1 at least, we usually get sort of this switchback effect into the what would be 13, 14, 15 before the triple right-hander.
Yeah.
So you get people diving up the inside into there and trying to stick it around the outside. But this was he just elbowed the Peugeot out of the way off the track and went through. Done.
Yeah.
Job done.
It was funny.
It was cool.
It looked cool. Peugeot in third though.
Yeah.
Which was a great result. And the 93 Peugeot came fourth.
Yeah.
So really strong result.
Good result for Peugeot.
Definitely.
But not enough to swing their bop.
No bopping.
No bop.
Yeah, so as you pointed out, the Ferrari, the 51 suffered a puncture, which dropped them to 13th. But even then, with 2 hours to go, came back to 5th.
Yeah, it was good.
So that was quite an exciting fight back through. And Kubica finished in 7th.
Yes. Which means they've won their Hypercar World Cup for Hypercar teams, Crown Cup, Hypercar World Cup thing.
Yay.
Against Porsche, because there's only 2 of them in that team, in that competition. There's like 2 teams, and Kubic's team has won. Shock. The team that's won a couple of races and Le Mans has won that competition.
No way.
Wild, right? And they did. They did. You might not have seen the picture. They did a little pose with Kubica holding the trophy and like a cowboy hat on, stood next to the Michelin Man.
Epic. I'm sure he looks incredibly awkward, as he usually does.
After finishing 7th and having a 30-second slower pit stop, they get him out to stand next to the Michelin Man in a cowboy hat. Yeah.
Epic.
Phenomenal.
Epic. Part of me doesn't love the grandeur of all of motorsport nowadays, but it's so funny sometimes.
While we're on the US grandeur of motorsport, we were doing a quiz last night about naming F1 circuits, and 3 times 3 different American Grand Prix track circuits appeared, and they were all called the US Grand Prix. And this I disagree with, because this is the US Grand Prix. COTA is the US Grand Prix.
Yeah.
But it came up as Miami and said US Grand Prix, and I was like, that is not.
No. And then the upside down pig.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I
like Vegas, though. I'm excited for Vegas this year.
Yeah. Anyway, GT3. Because it got a bit spicy.
GT3. So normally what happens, if any listeners have not really engaged with WEC before, the GT3s have a kind of good scrap.
Yeah.
But the hypercars is where it's at.
Yes.
And it gets very cool because the hypercars are much quicker than the GT3s. You get these very, very dramatic battles where you have 2 hypercars fighting each other, and then they have to deal with a GT3. And it's sort of very Schumacher, Hakkinen, split the back marker.
Come on, who was the third? You know this. I know this.
Obviously, you know this. But they have to split the back marker. And it gets all very dramatic and very exciting.
Zonta.
I wouldn't have guessed. But I should know.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
This time
got wild because Ford, in their number 77 Mustang, which has absolutely no business being a GT3
so funny. It's so funny. You have this Mustang next to like the Ferrari, and then as you spoke about, McLaren, which already looks like a bit of a spaceship, and it sort of is in between both of them. Yeah. And then there's just a Mustang.
Mustang in the way, yeah. It was leading the race, America.
Hell yeah.
But they refused to pit to dry tires, and Ferrari gambled. They actually gambled.
They actually did the thing.
Plan 17, whatever it is.
Plan A.
By the time you made it through the alphabet, you're onto numbers, and they made it to, who knows.
It's like Excel, and just goes, you were in ABC, and now it's like
AAA.
AP or something.
So they pitted for dry tires, and they pitted alongside McLaren and BMW, who also came in for dry tires. So now you've got, with like an hour to go, you've got 3-4 fast cars on dry tires trying to catch this Ford Mustang.
It was very Lightning McQueen.
It was
opening scene of cars, hopping his way to the end.
And the Ferrari overtook, but in a stupid place. And I think it was because the McLarens were coming quite quickly behind and made contact. And that's a big no-no. And they pulled off the rear half of the front fender, which is the wheel cover side. That gave them a 5-second penalty, and they weren't able to pull a 5-second gap on either Sean Galeil's McLaren or Valentino Rossi's BMW. So they finished first and ended up third, which is just sad.
I like in the notes you've made, even Anthony Davidson said it was pointless.
Yeah.
Even Anthony Davidson.
Who tried to argue that Charles Leclerc should be disqualified from Singapore for his collision with Lando Norris in the pit lane. But yeah, they were very quick to jump on him. Anyway, that's why I wrote even Anthony Davidson.
Yeah.
Because even Anthony Davidson thought it was ridiculous. And I remember the commentary being like, why has he done that there? That's such a stupid place to overtake. Like, if he'd waited a corner.
And he had the pace, right?
And he had the pace. Yeah.
It wasn't as if it was, he's been behind him for 3 laps, 4 laps, 5 laps, and is getting tired and it's like, okay, I need to send it because I'm not going to get another shot.
Yeah.
It was, he had plenty of shots and decided to just, for some reason, go behind the back and hit the ceiling.
Stupid. Aston Martin's progress. We kind of spoke.
Yeah, we chatted.
So 009, which I don't get the tie. I get that because 007, 009 are in WEC and 008 and 006 are in IMSA. I think that's the way around. 009 was 9th place on the grid and were only 6 seconds behind Kubica in Hyperpole. 007 was 14th and did a lap time 0.2 seconds, 2 seconds faster than 009 did in Hyperpole, but it was in the faster session. Much better performance overall. In the race, though, they both finished last because they kept spinning and aquaplaning.
Yeah. And again, this is about driver and team inexperience.
Oh, 100%.
Hopefully this will all get smoothed out. But it'd be really cool to see them compete. I love the Valkyrie. I think it's badass.
It sounds dope.
In the new James Bond film, they just had one set in the background and then was never driven, which I still have a gripe about.
That's
because
sad.
Why would you do that? And obviously the British Racing Green is the most gorgeous color in the world. So it'd be super cool to see them fighting with everyone.
I saw Top Gear did a comparison between the Valkyrie and the Mercedes AMG 1.
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
That car is also
because they've just
insane.
moved. They've just moved to online videos now with proper drivers since they got cancelled. But they are two proper F1 cars for the road, right? Because that
was a whole idea.
That is the F1 engine from Okay, Fuji
time.
And it was not Toyota in Fuji who took the headlines. It was indeed the French. The French. Alpine took the victory at the 100th WEC race in Fuji, which is their first victory in more than 3 years.
Which is great. And as we spoke about earlier, we're looking really competitive at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And it almost felt like, they've missed their shot.
They were second.
Yeah, it was Imola and then it was Belgium. That's kind of stretched towards the beginning of the year. They were really, really good.
And they only have one car, is that right? They only have
2.
Mick Schumacher's car. And
I think they have 2.
Maybe 2.
But yeah, it was great to see them win. I think they deserve to have a win based on the performance at the beginning of the year.
They are the only team without a platinum driver.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know what one has to do to be classified as a platinum driver.
You have to get 3 stars on all the gold levels.
True. So they started in 9th. They fell down. There was some penalties. But then it was feral. Fuji was feral. There was just so many risky dive bombs, risky crash. Like Fuji slaps as a circuit as well, which is just why I don't know why we continue at Suzuka and F1 because I can appreciate the challenge and the legacy and the history and whatever. Like the challenge is that it's these twisty, windy corners and
banking and it's all,
and I get all that.
The hills,
but as a circuit, it's shit, right? As a race circuit for racing to happen on, it's shit.
I would much rather have 2 Japanese Grand Prix
than 3
Americans. Yeah. I think get rid of Miami because Miami was an attempt to remake Monaco and it just sucked.
Yeah.
I think bin that off. Vegas, I think, was has been good both times. Better. I think Vegas has been better than Miami.
Sure.
On balance. And I think we pull Fuji in. It'd be so cool.
But it's also so scenic, like the mountain in the background, like, yeah.
It's just gorgeous. Everything about it is gorgeous.
But
and it's always nice to give Hondo, because obviously Hondo's so big in F1.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have another.
No, I agree.
One.
But it is just a track full of like dive bomb opportunities.
Yeah.
Like there's huge braking zones before chicanes. There's like open apex hairpins that you can take lots of different lines into and actually overtake people.
Yeah.
Which
it's an old school track, right? They always talk about it as like, oh, we love Spa and we love Suzuka because they're old school tracks, they're drivers' tracks.
Yeah, but Spa has been homogenized into a modern track, like butchered.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And the same thing in a way after the resurfacing in Suzuka.
Yeah,
it's.
I'm starting to notice as particularly in F1 when you go to an F1 track, when F1 goes to a track now, the curbs are pretty much the same. The safety walls are pretty much the same. The start finish stuff is the same. It's like they've just lifted everything and put it down somewhere else. Whereas like the bikes typically turn up at a track and things look a bit different. There are different safety walls in place. There are different curbs in place.
You have to adapt.
It's still a bit more about adapting. It's not as homogenous as Formula One is. And Fuji kind of feels like that. When I was watching it. So
it's an epic
It's
track.
just epic. So there's a lot of chaos and the safety cars definitely helped. There was a crash between the Aston Martin hypercar and the Aston Martin LMGT3 car that we will not discuss on this podcast because
embarrassing.
Lawrence Stroll might come for us, which promoted them up. And in a three-way fight between Peugeot and Porsche, Alpine rolled the dice and they pitted and only changed the two tyres on the left-hand side of the car because most of the corners are right-hand corners or slow left-hand corners. And they were like, I don't think we need them. So they didn't. And won the race. So it worked.
Because you also got to remember, again, people that are just used to F1, you have a smaller pit crew. So you have to do each wheel almost individually.
Yes. So there's two people per wheel.
Yeah. So doing two wheels is twice as long as doing one wheel.
Yes.
So it's not like you save.
There are four people to change the tires and it's two people per wheel.
You save time in not changing all of the tires.
Correct. They saved about 10 seconds and they won by 7.8 seconds.
There you go.
So
strategy on point.
Yes. And I kept thinking they were calling him Malaysi, but it wasn't. It was Malaysi, which was weird. Peugeot then took second ahead of the Porsche, who I think received a late race penalty to better their result from Kota. So now that is their best result in WEC, which was pretty cool. I think it was Di Resta's team. And
which shows BOP working well.
It shows that BOP works well because this was the fourth different manufacturer in 4 different races. As we've already said.
Which is super cool.
Aston Martin, again, because...
Success, sort of.
Because it was sort of success, and they're calling it bittersweet because obviously 007 collided almost just after halfway through the race with one of their Aston Martin Vantages. So that's an expensive crash for them. But 009 was top 5 throughout the weekend, free practice, quali, even setting the fastest lap in qualifying, not hyperpole, qualifying. Third on the grid, just kept it clean for most of the first part of the race, following the Peugeot and the Cadillac up ahead, sort of gaining that experience. We've seen that more in bike racing than car racing, but interesting. Then they had a full course yellow infringement. I think they were trying to pit or they sped during a full course yellow. It was over a week ago. Well, that dropped them to the bottom of the field because there was so many safety cars that by the time they served the penalty, they were at the back. Another mid-race safety car and bunched the field back up, and it had pace. It had pace.
It was good, and it looked good.
Lots of overtakes, keeping it clean, very little weather interfering. And it was up to 6th. Then they swapped drivers, climbed back up to 4th, and then dropped back down to 5th at the end because they were one of the teams who decided to change all of their tyres. Amateurs.
Silly. God forbid.
But good. I mean, this is good. This is towards the end of the season.
This is
first
progress.
Season,
it's good.
Bop is working, and here we are. It does mean, though, that I think pretty much one of 3 manufacturers can win the title. I think you've got the points in front of us.
Yeah, so just to kind of give a rundown. So there's the Manufacturers Championship, and then there's the World Cup for the hypercar teams, which, as we said, is just the 2 Ferrari and the 1 Ferrari, the 1 Porsche. And then there's obviously the Drivers Championship, which is the cars. So in the manufacturers, Ferrari are sat on 204, Porsche in second on 165, and Cadillac on 143. So it is tight. And then in the drivers, plural, you've got the 51 Ferrari on 115 and the 83 Ferrari, which is Kubica, on the 102. And then you've got the number 6 Porsche, which is 94. The thing that's nuts, and shout out to Porsche for this, both Ferraris have 3 drivers. The Porsche only have 2.
Yeah.
So they're doing a 6th more.
Yes,
each.
but you have to do. There's a minimum time for your bronze drivers. So Ferrari still have to run their bronze driver for a minimum time.
But even still, I think from an endurance point of view, from a driver's perspective, to race 3 hours, it's like that's a long time.
That's a long time.
Wow,
that's a long time. And to say Porsche haven't really been grabbing the headlines.
No, they're in 3rd.
And they're in 3rd. So it's all still play for. The next race is in Bahrain. Do you have the date in front of us?
The day.
I think it's in just over a month, right? I'm pretty sure it's in November.
8th
of November.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it for WEC for the year.
That is the year. So it's quite exciting because as we've spoken about converging. They are converging. They have been for a while. The last race will be exciting. It does look like Ferrari will take the championship.
But Bahrain's a spicy venue for overtaking and general just, traffic management because it's quite a wide track.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a good race.
So it'll be good.
So tune in 27 days from today. So probably 25 by the time we put it out.
Yes. Right, that's it. That's WEC caught up. So I think we're now
bang.
I mean, I'd say we're now caught up, but we've had Motegi in Indonesia, in MotoGP in Singapore.
Yeah.
So we're still behind.
We are. Wow, we never intended to ever be.
We will always be behind.
But yes, we'll do a big.
But the bikes is about to get super interesting because Marquez is now injured for 2 races with a broken collarbone. And obviously McLaren are going to collide at Austin in just over a week.
100%.
And Max Verstappen will win the championship. So it's about to get real spicy. Stay with us.
Yeah, check in. See you soon.
Peace.